Sweet. Heads up, everybody. Right? You good? Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Brian Masse, Member of Parliament for Windsor West. I'm joined today by David Cassidy, President of Local Unifor 444 from Windsor, Ontario, responsible for Windsor Assembly and also Casino Windsor, and amongst other duties, active in the labor community as well too. We're here today excitedly to move again on a old story, trying another way, and this is with regards to making Canada in line with the United States and Europe and many other countries with regards to single event sports betting. We all know, or maybe you don't know, this has been an ongoing saga. My former colleague Joe Camartin introduced a first bill in the House of Commons over 10 years ago. It was passed in the House of Commons unanimously. It went to the Senate where it was stalled for years. Subsequently, it failed, and I tried another one in the last Parliament where we were defeated by the Liberal cabinet at that time, and we now have another opportunity. We're going to table the bill this afternoon, but with a new and interesting twist. So we have offered a possible realm of possibilities here, everything from an ordering council and the budget to change this, but also a private member's bill. And I'm proud to announce that Mr. Kevin Waugh from Saskatoon Grasswood has stepped up to the plate. He came and approached me about this issue and knew the work that we were doing on it. And I really appreciate his sincere approach to deal with this issue, which is very important for the Canadian economy. It tackles organized crime, and it brings us in line with other nations where Canada is a laggard when it comes to responsible gaming. So Mr. Waugh is going to table the bill. I will second it today at 10 o'clock or just thereafter. And I'm going to have Mr. Cassidy give some remarks about the importance of this. But this is a bipartisan effort. We know that some Liberals are supporting this, just like last time. We have some Conservatives. We have New Democrats, where it's part of our policy, and some Bloc that are interested as well, too. This minority parliament really is about making an opportunity to get things done and make things work. I've been here through several minority parliaments, and the best ones are the ones that get off to a quick start on things that we can agree upon, and I'm hoping this bill does get that bipartisan support. I'll go into some details a little bit, the importance of it, again, for our economy and as well for the people in our countries and our provinces. But it's about time Canada came in line, and the importance is going to also be shone a light here by Mr. Cassidy. Thank you very much.
Okay, Brian, thank you. And again, my name is Dave Cassidy. I'm the president of Unifor Local 444 in Windsor. We represent about 2,600 gaming workers at Caesars Windsor. And this bill is, as Brian said, about a decade old. It's been shot down a couple times, but the importance of this is about jobs. This is about potentially just in Windsor, in excess of 100 good-paying jobs at the casino would make a difference. One needs to just look down the road in Niagara Falls, and as they have passed the single event sports betting in New York, and they've passed it in Michigan, they're opening sports books today, and it's going to take a toll on our economy once again because of the fact of they're going to stay over the United States. This bill doesn't cost any money. It's literally a change to a paragraph in the legislation. But to me, this is an easy one. And I might be looking at it a little different, but it's so important. We have been on this file for 10 years. We have the Chamber of Commerce involved now. The chambers support it. The major sports teams all support it. This bill has moved forward. It's been around a long time, and I think it's time that we get on and get this thing moved so we can have great paying jobs in our country that will add to it. It'll add to our economy. So we're excited. Hopefully this moves forward. I hope nobody thinks about the social issue that I hear people talk about and around gaming. The facts of the matter are when Caesars Windsor came to with the OLG back in 1995, our union was front and center on responsible gaming. There had to be measures in place, and that's why we partnered and moved forward with this because of the fact around responsible gaming. Today, I can go on my phone, I can bet offshore, and there's no responsible gaming to that. But when we have this in the single sports betting, there's checks and balances in place that talk about the responsibility and the gaming sector. So with that, Brian, I think that that pretty much covers it, and I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And a couple things to keep in mind with this legislation. This allows provinces to choose what they want to do with regards to single event sports betting. So in Canada, you have to bet at least on 3 or multiple games, which create issues. So the gaming takes place. As Dave mentioned, you can do this on your phone. You can do it offshore. In fact, it's over $10 billion of illegal or underground economy money or offshore economy money that is going right now with no accounting for whatsoever. And so what this allows for is each province to define its own destiny and bring in its checks and balances and measures in a responsible way that can actually have oversight and provide revenues for the different provinces as well too. I know that Michigan, for example, is moving for public education to be the recipient of this, as well as a fund for firefighters who are struck with cancer during the job that they serve their Michigan residents. So it's up to each province to define how it wants to proceed. A couple other points that are important to remember about this is, most importantly, if we do nothing, then what we do is the federal government, in a very paternalistic way, tells the provinces that they are not responsible enough and they have to live with an unregulated market indefinitely. They have to live with an underground economy indefinitely. Canada will become the outlier to the United States. There is no doubt in my mind that there's billions of dollars of infrastructure at stake on our borders, where we have crossover American visitors that will no longer be interested in coming as much to our destinations. We have world-class marketing and tourism and support from the staff at these facilities, but they need to be able to compete. And lastly, we will then have a number of Canadians that will also be visiting other jurisdictions and doing responsible single event sports betting, but just not in Canada. They'll continue on their phone, or they'll go to the United States, or they'll do that in Europe. So today is an exciting time because we're continuing to evolve this bipartisan attempt to get this done. And again, it's a simple line in the criminal code that would be eliminated, which would allow provinces to define their own destiny with regards to single event sports gaming and bring it into a regular market. With that, I'll end and open for any questions, and want to thank again Mr. Waugh for using his slot. He's number 7th in the order paper, so this will be coming up in the next few weeks to months that we'll have debate in the House of Commons and eventual vote. So this is something significant. It's happening, and it'll provide a great opportunity for discussion and hopefully advancement of this issue. Thank you very much.
I want to ask some questions.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Masse, I want to focus on the problems because this is what caused the last 2 bills.
Yeah.
Have you talked to the CFL or CFL Players Association?
So I have not talked to the CFL Players Association. The CFL has been supportive over the last number of years. We have not had an issue with them. The previous attempt was Gary Bettman from the NHL, which was ironic because they were the ones willing to bring in a Vegas sports team, and then they have their DraftKings online, which is basically sports betting. They were the big obstacle with regards to this from the industry.
Sure. I asked CFL and the Players Association yesterday, and they didn't want to comment on the bill. A Players Association will tell you, this is a matter of record, a college draft player makes average $53,000 and has a playing career of about 2 years without injury if he's lucky, which means my 5 buddies and I could buy a football game, no problem.
Are you referring to U.S. college or Canadian college?
Canadian Football League college draft players make an average of less than a bus driver. So you see where I'm going. How would under single event wagering police clean football?
Well, that's where the provincial systems already have those mechanisms in place. So whether it's, say, for example, the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Commission, they don't have to do anything that they feel is uncomfortable, or they bring products on responsibly, or they deal with an issue if there are products that create some challenges. I'm not aware of college fixed events. I don't think that there's ever been an investigation with regards to college football. I don't even have many constituents even suggesting that that would be something we have obviously our colleges, but we have university football. The U.S. college system is something totally independent of us anyways. So that, there is one association, I think, with Xavier University, some minor type of affiliation for some training, but that's about it. But that's not out of our control. So we would only be not even be able to address something like that. But that's their whole point of actually, because those issues, and you prove an exact point, is those things can take place with an illegal underground market right now. In fact, there's no support structure for those players. There's no support structure for that league. There's no support structure for consumers by having this in the black market unregulated system. So that exists as it currently is. This would actually provide the opportunity for actually regulation for the OLG, for example, in Ontario, to deal with any type of problems that might emerge. Until we actually have this as a legalized thing, we only encourage those types of manipulations to take place in the illegal black market industry.
As the Ontario Junior League, as the Western Hockey League, no comment on the bill. These are not overpaid players. So you see where I'm going with this. I understand you haven't sought endorsements from those groups.
Yep.
The operators of those leagues, you are so far away from the NHL, the NBA. These are working factory-class players who earn less than bus drivers. So that you recall the testimony in the Senate committees when Runciman was chair. There were guys saying this is what 1919 was all about. You have underpaid players, you have Arnold Rothstein with a lot of money, and if you have single event wagering, the two come together.
Well, if their league is that vulnerable right now to the black market, the underground economy, and to online overseas, if they are betting on that, that's one thing. So that's very disturbing to hear, because if that is the actual insinuation you're making, is they're vulnerable right now, they're extremely vulnerable in an unregulated market. And then second to that is that we don't even know if those products would be offered. I mean, in Ontario, the OLG is the one who decides where there is actually sports gaming on it. And some of the resources are the leagues that you're referring to are not part of actual online betting right now. Those are some of those things are not being provided. They could bet on 3 games of those, or 4 games, or 5 games, and you could actually have tampering with that if that's a suggestion as well too. But I don't even believe that some of the leagues that you're referencing are actually having sports betting right now. So there's lots of hypothetical situations, but what we do know is that right now, if there is tampering taking place in sports, there hasn't been provided any evidence in that in Canada, and that might likely be because if it's part of an underground black market economy, it won't be shed to light until there's regulation, and hence we need legislation to allow each province to bring in those accountability structures, to bring in those things that are necessary to deal with responsible gaming, to bring in the partners necessary. And I've spoken on several panels, not only just in Canada, but also in Europe and the United States, where they actually work with the leagues much more comprehensively, because there's now resources and funds to help players and help the leagues to deal with those types of problems, because we want responsible gaming. And having the resources, instead of it going to a bookie, instead of it going to an offshore account where somebody's squirreling their money away in the island of Man or somewhere else, they're not actually contributing to the solution. They're actually using and abusing the process to try to make money for themselves.
I want to ask you about the comments that were made by the government members when your bill came up last time. You know Paul Burns. Paul Burns' head explodes every time we run this quote from Bill Blair, and this was in the 2016 debate. I know you'll remember this. I'm quoting Blair. Illegal bookmakers have lower overhead costs and can offer more favorable betting odds. The vast majority of those who bet with illegal bookmakers would continue to do so. This is because bookmakers extend credit directly to the bettor, unlike the provinces. I understand the provinces and territories would stand to gain a substantial increase in gambling revenues if Bill C-221 were to pass. The big concern I have to share is the impact this proposed change could have on individuals and families, the social costs of gaming. Brian, I know you disagree with Bill Blair, but he's in cabinet, and that's what he thinks. How do you get your bill passed when there are serious people who express that serious concern?
Well, I think he was wrong then, and he's wrong then and now. Since that time of that quote, there's not been a single cent that has gone from the black market or the illegal market or the undercounter market to deal with responsible gaming. That's the repercussion of Bill Blair's position at that particular time to this day, is that we have witnessed billions of dollars redirected from what could be an accountable regulated system that provides a revenue stream for responsible gaming, and that's been diverted to the people Bill Blair refers to in there that are people that are working in the underground illegal market, and that will continue to exist. So I feel very confident about this. I think that the reality is that anybody right now that's watching this right now can go online and quickly click their phone or go on their computer and they can bet with a product that's unregulated and is a product that's actually going to see their money transferred out of this country, or they can go down to a bar, basement, or back alley and bet with somebody else. People have office pools. There's all kinds of things. So having responsible gaming is important. It's one of the pinnacle parts of this actual legislation. It's the same thing that we did before when we updated issue with regards to dice games. We can have a choice right now, is that we can allow people to go to the United States and do this. They can go to Europe, they can go online, they can do all those different things. They will get to the product, or we can actually have responsible gaming here and deal with it. If not, we get all the consequences with no support structures in place for people. And that is a terrible position for us to be, is to be the recipient of all the downside, but not the benefactor of any of the positives and the revenue streams to help deal with the issues that are very much dear to our families and our hearts.
Mr. Cassidy, can I ask you, do you know if the Windsor Casino extends lines of credit?
No, they don't.
Have they ever?
Not that I know of.
Can I ask you, and I'm not sandbagging you, there was case law in which the casino operator, in at least one case that went to Ontario Superior Court, took a woman's home because she lost her home on a line of credit that was collateralized with the property. Now, this goes back some years. You've never heard of that?
No.
I got this. Tom, we can't, we're going to have to go soon because we have to table the bill, but we can't answer hypothetical questions from...
Hypothetical.
Yeah.
I was actually just curious if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.
Hello?
Explain it on. I want to go see Ray.